there's a story that, tensions are erupting between MSNBC and Bernie Sanders campaign. Good. Bernie Sanders campaign should be on the offense against. I mean, this is propaganda right now that MSNBC is doing. Complete and utter propaganda. I'll read some of this to you because there's some pretty important things in here. Senator Bernie Sanders and MSNBC have always had a complicated relationship, blah, 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 blah. But officials in Sanders' campaign contend that leading up to the 2020 election, the network is one of several cable news outlets directly contributing to a media climate where false claims go unchecked and requests for progressive voices on air are frequently turned down. More often than not, these commentators are injecting their opinion without any policy discussion. Nina Turner, the national co-chair of Sanders' campaign, told the Daily Beast, "They're not there to tell the gospel truth." Well, Nina Turner knows about the gospel truth. The backlash from Sanders' world reached a new high on Sunday when MSNBC analyst Mimi Roca, a former assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, an occasional contributor to the Daily Beast, launched a personal critique. Yeah, that's a word for it. Critique of Sanders during a segment, saying that he makes her skin crawl and that he's not a pro-woman candidate. Well, also what I love about this person, Mimi Roca, what is her expertise on politics or campaigns? She's a former prosecutor. Why do we care what she has to say about Bernie Sanders or anyone else? Yeah, come on to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. Come on to talk about, the Mueller investigation, whatever. But MSNBC is just having randos that aren't even in the political field to just bash Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders makes my skin crawl, which I already showed you. Roca's comments, which multiple campaign officials contend went too far, were part of a larger issue they see brewing, where the fact-checking process appears to be largely removed from the day-to-day political discourse among some commentators and hosts. Quote, "It takes a certain kind of woman to ignore that education, healthcare, and the economy are women's issues too. Hashtag privileged much? This is not what intersectional feminism looks like. It's corporate feminism at its finest. Full stop." Sanders' National Press Secretary Brianna Joy Gray wrote on Twitter. And when she says corporate feminism, she means it, because this woman is from Scarsdale, which is one of the wealthiest areas in the United Corporations of America. Oh, she's from Scarsdale. Oh, Bernie Sanders makes my skin crawl, and I use very, very, very expensive lotion on my skin. So a senior campaign aide said the campaign believes there are possible biases in the network. Possible biases, come on. But instead of shunning MSNBC, they've been aggressive in getting their people booked. Sanders has been on the network at least 9 times this cycle, granting multiple interviews to Chris Hayes, Ali Velshi, and Stephanie Ruhle, as well as Al Sharpton. He has done at least the same amount of appearances on the network as he did in the first 6 months of the 2016 election. Still, a separate campaign official said there's only a small handful of guests closely aligned with Sanders who regularly appear on the network. And that while they're hopeful more will be added as the field narrows, their suggestions thus far have been largely turned down. So let me expand on this. MSNBC constantly has former Hillary Clinton campaign people on to analyze Bernie Sanders. You know, that's like having me on to analyze the Young Turks. I have no interest in going on TV or the internet and talking about the Young Turks. Obviously, I don't feel so fondly, but are you going to have somebody who is not so fond to a campaign or a corporation on to analyze that campaign or media network? Of course not, because it's not fair analysis. It's not, let me refrain. I could give fair analysis, but obviously I have a bias. So having somebody on and making it, presenting it as just fair, neutral, just good old-fashioned political analysis is total bullshit. So why do they keep having Philip Raines on, who used to be Hillary Clinton's bag man, to analyze Bernie Sanders? Why do they keep having on what's this woman with MoveOn.org? Jess McIntosh, who was Hillary Clinton's former communications director, constantly on to talk Bernie Sanders. Why don't they have Cornel West on? Why don't they have Nina Turner on? Why don't they have campaign aides from Bernie Sanders' campaign? Why don't they have Susan Sarandon on? Why don't they have Danny Glover on? Why don't they have Josh Fox on? And Josh Fox, who obviously has done great work on fracking and climate change and has great documentaries, he used to be booked on MSNBC, and then he went on with Susan Sarandon and basically told Chris Hayes, why don't you stop being such a putz? Where were you at Standing Rock? Where are you on these important issues? Why don't you stop, instead of trying to get Susan Sarandon to apologize for Donald Trump getting elected, why don't you actually go out and cover real news? I mean, it's just absurd what MSNBC has become. And I don't want to say it's exactly like Fox News, because Fox News is way, way more Islamophobic. Fox News is way, way more racist. Fox News is way, way worse with, stretching the truth. But this is not, this is getting into Fox News territory, because they routinely just misstate facts on air. They don't correct it. There's a clear bias for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They're even propping up Elizabeth Warren. Anybody but Bernie. Anyone but Bernie. So the piece goes on, and there's some interesting news nuggets on here too. To help supplement the fact that MSNBC won't invite progressives on, Bernie's campaign has taken steps to create new chances for independent public exposure, including creating a live stream show, The 99, that runs twice per week, and a new podcast called Hear the Burn, produced by the campaign's press secretary. Officials agreed that the more Bernie Sanders appears on major news networks, the better chance he has to make his case to the public. But that increased exposure also comes with a perceived bias amongst hosts and commentators, officials caution. It's not perceived. Be real. They're completely biased against him. It doesn't even have to be rah-rah Bernie Sanders, Turner said, pointing to Zerlina Maxwell, an MSNBC political analyst and former official on Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign, who shared the segment with Roca. Just someone who would push back. I mean, that's like the bare minimum. Like, if you're going to have these people on bashing Bernie Sanders, if the anchor's not going to push back and ask for any facts, could you at least have a living, breathing progressive on? Isn't that what, is fair news coverage? I mean, I'm open with my bias. I don't hide my bias. I personally support Bernie Sanders. Again, it doesn't change the facts of what I report. I just reported for you there's a labor complaint made against him. I don't know the facts. I read it to you. I don't know the facts. I'm looking into it. If they're bad for Bernie, I'm not going to hide it. I'm not a fanboy. But I'm also not going to create bad news to cover for Bernie, or be like, oh, I got to be neutral and I got to show both sides. No. I report the facts, and the facts happen to support Bernie Sanders as the best candidate, which I think what I'm about to tell you will show. After the segment aired, Turner personally asked women to share stories detailing why they support Sanders, saying that while she wasn't surprised in the volume of responses she received, the depth of the personal accounts women chose to divulge connected to Sanders' policy platform was compelling. That, quote, their voices matter just as much as Mimi's, Turner said. They may not have a platform on MSNBC, but their voices matter. A spokesperson from MSNBC seemed to dismiss the campaign's claims without mentioning Sanders by name. Quote, a presidential campaign complaining about tough questions and commentary speaks for itself, the spokesperson said. Our anchors and analysis are doing their jobs, discussing day-to-day developments that have an impact out of the race. All right, that's total bullshit. Bernie Sanders' campaign is not complaining about tough questions. Bernie Sanders' campaign is not complaining about commentary. That's not commentary. When you say a candidate makes my skin crawl, I just can't tell you why. That's not commentary. Commentary is offering your opinion based on a set of facts or principles. Saying this guy makes my skin crawl, this guy is so, he's not pro-women. That ain't commentary. That's political attacks on a network masquerading as news. It gets better, though. It gets better. So, MSNBC's arrogant response, oh, we're just doing commentary. No, you're not. You're doing hit jobs. But Sanders' campaign argues the incident was not isolated. Quote, there's no effort to push for fact-based analysis, one campaign official told the Daily Beast. Cable news allows that sort of spin to exist in the world in a way that doesn't get checked. The official said that when contributors on the network engage in more robust policy discussions, including shortly after Sanders gave a speech on Medicare for All, the campaign reached out to the network to push for several fact-based corrections, a standard practice among presidential campaigns. Quote, it's a full-time job, the official said of the back-and-forth dialogue with the network. So you reach out to a network to correct factually incorrect information. The network doesn't. Does that sound like a news network or a propaganda campaign? For all the campaign's gripes with the left-leaning news network, it's not a left-leaning news network anymore. It's a friggin' establishment pro-corporate news network. I mean, they've basically rehabilitated every right-wing warmonger on the planet. Nicole Wallace has a show. She was Bush's communications director. Bill Kristol practically sleeps in the green room, who helped cheerlead us into Iraq. David Frum is on MSNBC constantly left-leaning. Get the out of here. For all the campaign, this is important. For all the campaign's gripes with the left-leaning news network, there's early indication that his message is going over better with an ideologically opposite cable news network. A recent Morning Consult poll found that Fox News viewers are more likely to support Sanders than those who prefer to watch MSNBC. According to the survey, 22% of Fox News viewers who identified as possible Democratic primary voters said they would back Sanders, as opposed to 13% of MSNBC viewers. The statistic was bolstered further by Sanders' ratings during his own town hall appearance on Fox News, where more than 2.5 million viewers turned in to hear Sanders make the case. That is a super important statistic. The person who's going to beat Donald Trump has to get some of those Trump voters. He has to get some of those Obama voters who switched over to Trump to switch back to the Democrat. So with the candidate who's going to win the presidential election against Trump, they have to get those Obama voters that moved over to Trump back. They also need to get some of Trump's voters back. Well, Bernie Sanders has a 22%, almost a quarter of Fox News' audience view Bernie Sanders favorable. This is to go with other polls that show almost Bernie Sanders does best among white, working class, non-college educated. That is Donald Trump's base. So he's doing well. 22% for a Democrat on Fox News is damn good. He's doing well among them. He's doing well among non-college educated, white working class. We could have a debate another time. Well, should we go for the white working class or should we go for the black work? Just go for voters. I don't care if it's white working class. I don't care if it's the black working class. The black working class is the working class. It's all one. They try to separate the white working class with the black working class. The black people are in the working class too. Bernie Sanders does well among the working class of America, and there's a lot of black working class, just like white working class, that don't have college degrees. Other polls also show he's doing fairly well among those with bachelor's degrees. The thing he's not doing well is with postgraduate academic Harvard. Basically, this is what happened in 2016. Every single poll, head-to-head, showed Bernie Sanders beating Donald Trump 10 to 15 points. Showed Hillary Clinton winning by like 4 to 5 points. Oh, head in the sand, head in the sand, head in the sand. Hillary. No, Bernie can't win. Bernie can't win. The Republicans will attack him. The Republicans will attack him. They're going to make socialism a bad thing. He's going to fall. He'll get demolished. Nonetheless, every poll showed him winning. There's all of their heads in the sand. So we're just ignoring it. Bernie Sanders does best among young people. Bernie Sanders does best among working class without a college degree. Trump's base. Bernie Sanders doing well among African Americans, doing well among Latinos, beating Donald Trump in almost every single head-to-head poll. Actually, every head-to-head poll nationally. So, of course, Bernie can't win. Socialism, they won't, the country can't handle socialism. They just can't. We're not going to show these polls with socialism on the rise. Socialism in a Gallup poll as of fall of last year, having more support than capitalism. We can't tell the audience that. tyranny, socialism, Soviet Union, communism. I mean, it's just, they're willing to lose. They are willing to lose. And by the way, a fun fact that I don't hear any of these MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post mentioning this. This is a list from Morning Consult, so it's Politico Morning Consult, of the most popular and unpopular senators. So Angus King, independent from Maine, narrowly is ahead of Bernie. They're both at 62% favorability. Bernie at 32% unfavorable, King 28%. So really, they're tied, basically. So Bernie is 1 or 2 most popular senator in the country. I never hear this, but Elizabeth Warren, she's up there as most unpopular. You got Turkey Neck Mitch McConnell underwater there, 36% favorable, 50% unfavorable. Susan Collins, who voted for Brett Kavanaugh, 48% unfavorable, 45%. Corrupt Bob Menendez, 34% favorability, 42% unfavorable. Joe Manchin, another corrupt fake Democrat, 45% favorable, 42%. I mean, Warren, in her own state, 8 points. She's less than half favorable. So you mean to tell me this is who's going to defeat Donald Trump? Somebody that doesn't even have half favorability of her state? She doesn't reach the 50% mark in her own state that she represents. Did you see that on MSNBC? Did you see that in the New York Times? Did you see it? I mean, they're all propping up. Oh, Elizabeth Warren has a plan. Elizabeth Warren has a plan. Elizabeth Warren has a plan. Well, apparently, the state of Massachusetts, which my aunt lives in Massachusetts, my uncle lives in Massachusetts, big fan of Massachusetts, love New England. Apparently, I'm not saying like she's hated because she is more favorable than unfavorable, but how is Elizabeth Warren going to beat Donald Trump if she's only 8 points up, favorable to unfavorable, not in America, in Massachusetts? I mean, when you're next to Joe Manchin, when you're close to Joe Manchin, that's not good. So, iceberg right ahead. And MSNBC is controlled opposition. And by the way, I don't know if this is true, a source with knowledge told the Daily Beast Sanders recently called the beloved married couple, Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, to have an off-the-record talk. I don't know if it's true. I don't know why he's calling them. I mean, they are, if you watch Morning Joe, which sometimes I do, just to, know your enemy, I mean, they might as well be doing sexual favors for Joe Biden.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.